You either are in an environment where people like that are around you. If you're not, don't let that be an excuse.
When you put in that hard work, you'll never want to go back because you know how much work you put in to get to where you are.
Absolutely. Because I'm always in that edge of paranoia. And the reason why I'm in that edge of paranoia, same goes with my physique and my body. You put in that hard work, you always should be paranoid. I think real successful people have a certain level of paranoia of what if I just relax a little bit and I go back.
All right, good afternoon and welcome to another episode of the RK Leadership Podcast, where we empower and develop tomorrow's leaders through sharing of knowledge, experience, and inspiring stories. I'm Rob Cameronpour, your host, and my special guest today is Peyman Golizadeh. He's the CEO of his own firm. And before I pass it on to him to introduce himself further, I'd like to thank Peyman for taking the time for being here today. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
And without further ado, take it away.
It's good to be with you. Hey, it's a pleasure, and I thank you for this opportunity. And I'm looking forward to this talk.
Awesome.
I'm hoping that we can add value to your listeners, and give them some things to ponder on.
I'm sure you will. You've got a lot of good things.
So as you know a little bit, I'll tell your audience. I left Iran when I was 8. We were in refugee camps for about 4 years, lived in Germany for 4 years in refugee camps. Never had a chance to really go to school until I was 12 years old.
Wow.
And so when I left Iran, I was in grade 3. And in 1997, when I was 12 years old, we got to Canada and restarted school. They put me in grade 7 because of my age, but my English skills were horrible. I couldn't speak English, so I had to ESL. My math skills, my science skills were still at grade 3. So it was tough growing up, trying to catch up. At the same time that I had to learn English, I had to catch up with my school subjects. But I ended up doing pretty well. Took my parents' advice, go to school, get a good education so you can be successful. Graduated high school and got into university. And my plan was to become a chiropractor.
Nice.
I was a big fan of fitness. I always loved sports, and I wanted to specialize in sports injury. I got into university, studied kinesiology and health science. And in my 3rd year, I got introduced to the financial industry completely by accident. Had no intentions of being in financial world, had no intentions of being an entrepreneur, did not know anything about the world of business. And somebody took an interest in me, luckily, and started mentoring me, coaching me, teaching, all the languages of money. And I was about $37,000 of debt because of school. Yep. And I was 23 at the time. This is in 2009. And I got started in the financial world completely part-time. Got my licenses in the industry and paid off my OSAP debt, my student line of credit debts in about 11 months.
Nice.
And then I decided I want to put school on hold for a year. World War III broke out at home, because my parents sacrificed a lot.
Yeah.
And I kind of see where they were coming from. They were trying to protect me, right? They said, what are you doing with your life? You were almost, becoming a doctor, stuff like that. So just give me a year. And if it doesn't work out, I can always go back to school. That was 15 years ago. I haven't been back to school since.
Nice.
And my wife started working with me in 2014. And we started switching roles from being an advisor to building our own company, building our own enterprise, and building our own organization. And here we are.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So before I get into how it is to be a CEO and running your own firm and the challenges with that, I want to take you back to the younger days, your adolescent days, and I want you to tell us, the audience, and some of the stories you shared with me, what were some of the struggles that you went through personally? And I know you're super disciplined and you've strengthened your mindset, and that's what I want to focus on this part. How did you deal with, what was the struggles that you had and how did you deal with them?
Well, one of the biggest struggles I had in my life was I wanted to be successful. I knew I wanted to be successful. There was a lot of burden on my shoulder, simply because my parents had a pretty good life back home. and they sacrificed everything and let that go so that they can give me and my sister a better opportunity
That's right.
in a free enterprise country. So that kind of put a lot of pressure on me to want to be successful and to kind of repay them back, not financially, but to make them proud, I guess.
Yes.
But I really didn't know what I was going to do. So for me, based on what they were telling me, school was the answer. But as I was growing up, I started to realize that most people that had jobs around me, most people that ended up having a degree and working a 9 to 5, were really not where I wanted to be. So I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew I was looking for something.
That's right.
You know, and the biggest struggle I had within myself was developing the mentality to want to be successful, because I did not come from a business entrepreneurial leadership kind of family.
That's right.
You know, my dad was an employee all the time. My mom was a stay-home mom. And growing up in refugee camps, I wasn't really around a lot of successful people. So growing up at a young age, the mentality was never developed. You know, some people are blessed to be in an environment or a family where entrepreneurs, uncle's an entrepreneur, dad's an entrepreneur, and they kind of see that. I never had that. So I had to really spend a lot of time working on the mindset and trying to really pick people's brains. And I hated reading books. I had to start reading books. I kind of forced myself
Nice.
to start reading books, and really trying to reach out to people that I kind of thought they were successful to kind of pick their mindsets. And for me, that was the biggest struggle, to shape my mentality around what does it take to be somebody? What does it take to be successful? Because I never had that example around me.
So, what would your advice be to the younger folks listening out there today and those who are struggling? How do they start building that mindset?
I'm a big believer that you're a product of your environment. You either are in an environment where people like that are around you. If you're not, don't let that be an excuse, because you can build that environment through podcasts these days, YouTube, books,
That's right.
where you can kind of put yourself in a cocoon for a little bit of time. And if you don't have successful people around you, start picking up books on successful people, biographies on successful people, and that becomes your circle. And really bury yourself in there for some time. And study everything around the subject you want to master. I love leadership. I'm a big fan of leadership. I believe in pouring into people. I believe in duplicating and developing people. So I study a lot about leadership.
Nice.
And becoming a thought leader in that area. And one of my go-tos is always John Maxwell.
Yes.
You know, and I love that man. He changed my life in the way I think about leadership. But again, the biggest advice I can give to younger folks coming up is bury yourself in an environment where that kind of helps you flourish that mentality. And if you don't have the people around you, books, podcasts, and just go at it.
So they say you're the average of your 5 friends. What are your thoughts on that? Because you talk about environment. I think that's a huge part of your environment as well, right?
I actually always say this to my team that I lead. I say, I can easily predict someone's future by just simply looking at who they hang around with.
Yes.
So easy to predict somebody's future. It's just simply looking at who they hang around with. If you hang around with people that are making $500,000, $1 million a year, you'll be the 6th one.
Yep.
If you got 5 friends like that, you'll be the 6th one. You're hanging around friends that are, kind of living an average life, not hustling, not eventually gravity kind of will pull you down.
That's right.
To their level as well. There's nothing you can do about it. You can say, oh, I'm mentally tough. They're not going to influence me. It's all subconscious.
Absolutely.
It's all subconscious. It'll creep up on you.
It is.
So I'm a big believer in that. I can easily predict your future by simply looking at who you hang around with.
Yeah, and I think I don't know. I personally can relate to that myself. Hanging around certain people back in the day developed me into the same kind of the folks that they were. So I can tell these days, same thing you said. You can tell who people are exactly from their environment and their friends. You talked about books and you talked about leadership. I'll get into leadership a little bit later.
Sure.
So tell us about the one book that's stands out for you that you've read that had an impact on your life, and what were your key takeaways from that book?
So the one book that significantly impacted my life, and the reason why it did, because some books influence you in your business. Some books influence you in your personal life.
That's right.
But there was that one book that I read that did both for me, and that was How to Win Friends and Influence People. Completely changed the perspective for me, because it not only I could apply it to my business,
Yes.
a lot of it I applied to my personal life, and that significantly improved as well. So the one book that I go back to over and over again every few years is How to Win Friends and Influence People. Man, what a book that was.
Awesome. Yeah, I read that, and it was a great book. Highly recommended to the folks out there.
Definitely.
To take a copy and read
Yeah.
it. So Peyman, I know you and I both are, on the same level in terms of what physical fitness means and how important it is in our life. And when you combine that with, building your mindset, I think it has a tremendous power. For me, it's physical. Once you start getting into that physical fitness world, your mindset will start to develop as well. I personally know I struggled with my weight when I was younger. I was very skinny. And I know you told me a story about, I've seen your transformation, and it's incredible. And I wanted you to kind of talk about
Sure.
that and how you started that journey.
2010, I looked at myself in a mirror one day. I was 215 pounds. 215 pounds. And it's interesting how this started. And I haven't shared this story with you. As a matter of fact, I think there's only one or two people that ever know about this story. I was holding a meeting, and I was trying to sell this product to somebody, and I was coming up in the business. And the person who was field training me, kind of thing, wasn't in the best physical shape. And when the meeting finished, the gentleman that was sitting in front of me said, "Listen, here's what I'm going to give you, a little piece of advice. I don't trust people with my money or anything in my life who are overweight and don't take care of themselves." And I kind of took it personally. Like, why would you say that? He goes, if you don't care about you,
Yes.
what makes you think you'll ever care about me? And that was like, holy cow. Let's get in shape. Like, let's go.
Nice.
And that started the whole idea of, okay, I need to get in shape. I need to start exercising. And he was absolutely right. That sale never happened, but it changed my life. Right? And I started this fitness journey. Thank God I haven't been back to that weight. And I'm not planning to. But and he was absolutely right. Why would you trust somebody who does not take care of themselves?
That's right.
How do you think they're going to take care of you?
Yep.
Your body is a temple that you got to take care of.
Yes.
There's a very old Persian saying that says, a healthy mind only belongs in a healthy body.
That's right.
And right now that exercise, I'm not Arnold, I'm not a puff guy, but I'm healthy. And it's a daily thing for me.
Yep.
And it's gone to a point where if I don't exercise for that day, my mind does not function the same. It's that habit that I have built.
That's right.
And the discipline. And you apply that discipline to so many areas of your life.
Yes.
It's a commitment you make, and you treat it just like a commitment you do in everything else.
Yep.
Right? The same way you commit to your partner, the same way you commit to your career, the same way you commit to your exercise regimen.
Yeah, it's crazy. Listen, you're in great shape. I know you're trying to be humble about it, and you talked about not wanting to go back, and I think that's where a lot of people don't understand that when you put in that hard work, you'll never want to go back because you know how much work you put in to get to where you are.
Absolutely.
Right?
And it applies to business too.
Yes.
We were having a conversation earlier this week. As we're recording this video, we're going away in a couple of days. I'm taking 35 of my top guys to an all expenses paid trip to Jamaica. And one of the things that I do is when I go on trips, I really don't enjoy trips much, believe it or not. And the reason is because I'm always in that edge of paranoia. And the reason why I'm in that edge of paranoia, the same goes with my physique and my body. you put in that hard work, you always should be paranoid. I think real successful people have a certain level of paranoia of what if I just relax a little bit and I go back. And that's what makes the difference between successful individuals and those who attain success and kind of go back and gravity, because once you get there, they think they've arrived.
Yes.
Once you get to 180 pounds from 300, you think you've arrived and you let go. And before you know it, 2 years later, you're back to where you started because you lose that paranoia.
That's right.
Applies to business, applies to marriage, applies to fitness. You always have to have a certain level of paranoia. If I let go, I can always go back to where I was. And that's always in my mind.
Now, when you say paranoia, do you look at it from a fear perspective, or is it more, kind of motivating yourself not to go back?
So it's a fear-based motivation.
I like that.
It's a fear-based motivation. Fear of, I don't want to have that again. I've experienced that.
Correct.
I hate it. I'm afraid of that version of me.
That's right.
So that fear is always in my mind.
Yes.
And that motivates me every day.
And you use that fear to propel you forward instead of holding you in a negative spot.
That's right.
Where you just go backwards.
I always hopefully fearful. So you're hopeful, you have the future is bright, things look good, but I'm also having a little bit of paranoia in the back of my mind that, okay, be careful. This is the time to hustle. This is the time to put in the work. You can't slack now. You can't slack now. Every day, you can't slack now.
That's right. So I want you to now tell us about being a CEO of a company, right? What are the challenges you've encountered, and how do you overcome those challenges? And again, what is your advice for people, the entrepreneurs out there that are trying to start up their own companies? How should they be preparing?
So I always say, first of all, entrepreneurship and business is not for everybody.
Yes.
And not everybody can do it. But if you want to, you can. That's the difference. It's subtle.
Yes.
Being a CEO or leading an organization, the toughest part is that there's a lot of people looking up to you. And you really got to work and develop your leadership skills.
Yes.
Because everything falls and everything rises on leadership. And you got to be prepared to take full responsibility of everything that happens.
Yep.
Everything that could go wrong, I am or you are responsible. And everything that can go well and everything that does go well, the team is responsible.
That's right.
You got to be able to do that. You can't let ego get in the way. Because, sometimes you start a company, things start going well, you're the CEO, people look up to you, ego comes in the way. As soon as ego kicks in, that's when you're about to go back to where you were.
That's right.
And lose everything. So you got to be very, very careful with that and constantly work on you.
Yep.
It's an ongoing battle where we got to constantly work on ourselves and continue to try to become the better version every day.
Yes.
Right? And stay humble.
Key.
Humility is the key.
Yes.
Humility is the key. And again, I'm going to reemphasize, being a person who can take full responsibility of everything.
Yep.
Because you cannot be a CEO or a leader of a firm and blame other people for the shortcomings.
That's right.
And not many people can take that pressure. Yep. So if you can't take that pressure, don't step into being a leader or starting a firm, because that's what it takes.
Absolutely. So you talked about leadership, which I want to get into. What are the most important? You mentioned some of the stuff. What are the most important aspects of leadership to you, and what kind of leader do you want to be in terms of leaving your legacy?
That's a tough question. I want to be a leader where I'm not just recognized as a leader in my firm, but I'm recognized as a leader in my community.
Mm-hmm.
I'm recognized as a leader at home. I'm recognized as a leader, most importantly, for my son.
Nice.
Those are very valuable. It's not just in the world of business. I can have a significantly powerful business, making a lot of money, But if my family, my son, my wife does not look up to me, my community does not look up to me, that's not leadership. To me, leadership, a true leader is somebody who has leadership in everything they do.
Yes.
It's not just one dimensional, right? And you cannot just be successful in your business and run a miserable life at home. You cannot be super successful with your marriage and run a miserable financial company. It's everything all in. Pour it all in.
That's right.
Right? And that's, to me, the most important is, at the end of the day, what does my son think of me? When I'm 60, 70 years old, is he proud? Does he know that I always done the right things when nobody was watching?
Yeah.
That, I never cheated, I never cut corners, and I was always there for other people, uplifting others, encouraging others, and trying to get people to where they want to go.
That's right.
And that is the key to me in terms of the legacy I built, because we're all going to go one day. We don't live forever, but we can continue to live through the lives we change.
Absolutely.
Right? We can continue to live through the lives we change. So I want to be a person that impacts hundreds, thousands of lives. That if one day that I'm gone, their legacy also changed because of the steps we took today.
That's right. Oh, that's fantastic. And that's why, I wanted to have you on this podcast, because I can see that in you. Your leadership traits are definitely there. And I love what you said about, you're not just a leader in the office or just at home. You're a leader everywhere in your community. And I always say, if you're a leader in the office, it's not like you go home and you put your hat up, behind the door and you're somebody else.
Yep.
You got to carry that through and through with you.
It's who you are.
It's who you are, yeah. It's in your DNA.
It's who you are.
Yeah.
You can't fake it.
No.
One of the things that I'm completely against and I've never was a fan of is this whole idea that, you see a lot on social media, this and that. You got to fake it till you make it. No. You can't fake stuff like that.
No.
People can see right through you.
Yes.
People are not stupid. People are smart, and they can see right through you.
Yep.
And if you believe in fake it till you make it, drop it. It doesn't work.
Especially in leadership.
Absolutely.
If you're not an authentic leader, good luck getting people to believe in you, trusting you, and that's a crucial part of leadership.
Exactly.
Building trust, right? So, you're building your team and you're scaling up. What are the important aspects, and how do you build your teams here?
Good question. So, trying to see if I understand you correctly is, how do I figure out who to bring on? Is that part of the question?
That's part of it.
Okay. Yeah. One of the key factors that I look at. So, as you know, we run a financial firm. Something I never look for is people that necessarily have financial skills, financial degrees. For us, we've got a code of honor, and we've got a set of standards. For us, the number one standard is strength of character. Mm-hmm. I can teach you financial skills. I can teach you how to sell. I can teach you. Those are soft skills you can learn. But I cannot teach you how to be the good person.
That's right.
That's a trait you got to have in you. So the number one thing we look at when it comes to building a team and bringing new people into our organization is strength of character. How are you as an individual? How do you treat other people? A lot of times I take a brand new guy out to lunch and I see how they treat the waiter. I see how they treat the waitress, how they talk to other people. That kind of gives me an idea of who they are. Or sometimes we do, if they're married, we'll sit down with the couple together. How they treat each other, how they talk to each other, tells a lot about their character. So for us, the number one gauge is strength of character.
Amazing.
Integrity, loyalty, honesty, teamwork mentality, personal growth mentality, that they're hungry, they want to learn.
Yeah.
The rest is just putting in the work. But that is the basic foundation that we're looking for when it comes to building people. And then the next thing we look at is the level of commitment, what it is that they want to achieve. So one of the things that good leaders have is it's not about them, it's about their people.
Yes.
So for me is, okay, how can I help you get to where you want to go? That's the key to developing people.
Yep.
I can't make it about me. It's all about you. What are your goals? What are your dreams? What it is that you want to do? And let's see how I can help you get there.
That's right.
And that's how we go about bringing on people and building them up. Never making it about us. It's all about them.
So that's a lot of great points you mentioned there. Hire for character, train for skill. I love that aspect. I use it the same way. Even the interview questions I do are totally different than your standard, the traditional questions. It's about finding who the person is. Now, step one is getting people in the door. Step two is retaining people. What do you do to ensure that your team here is engaged and you're able to, retain them and not have a high turnover just like other organizations?
For us, it's never about the bottom line.
Excellent.
One of the things that my firm very differs in other financial firm is we're not a quota-based company. We don't treat people like numbers.
Yes.
And as soon as you come in and you've proven yourself kind of in terms of your character, your family, our doors are wide open. A lot of my team members come into our home. We eat together. We travel together. And we're a family. And that's what we do. And what's interesting is that once you build that environment and that culture,
Yes.
the people who feel they don't belong, they leave themselves. Because they know they don't belong. And we've had plenty of those people who showed a good person, but they came in 6 months later, a year later. They were really not the character we were looking for. We didn't have to tell them to leave. They left themselves. Because once you build that culture,
Yeah.
people who don't feel that they belong, they'll filter themselves out.
That's right.
Right? So we never ever had to worry about. There was one occasion, I'm not gonna lie, that we had to literally go up to someone and say, "Listen, thank you so much, please leave." But other than that, we've never had that issue. People would just leave. And what's interesting, Wahab, is every morning when I wake up, before I have my breakfast, I'm a man of faith. I pray.
Nice.
And I tell God, "Listen, God, please bring the people who are meant to be in my life, whom I'm supposed to influence, and they're supposed to influence me closer to me. And those who don't bring value to me or I can't bring value to them, just take them away from me." So as soon as somebody leaves, I'm like, answered prayers. Isn't that what you asked for, Peyman?
That's right.
So that's just my faith and part of my faith. But retention becomes very easy when your people know that you're there for them.
Yes.
And they're not just a number on the wall where you're looking to hit your targets.
Absolutely. And I think that's a problem with a lot of the organization these days where the bottom line always comes first before people. And I always say your people always come first.
Yep.
They should always come first. Without your people, you don't have a bottom line.
Exactly.
Right? And, I can get into another discussion about entrepreneurs. Just because you're an entrepreneur with an idea doesn't make you a leader either, right? Leadership is totally different. And that's why they think, I've got the idea, I can run the company. And they start hiring people and they say, why are people leaving?
Right? You could have no ideas, be a leader.
Yes.
And build an incredible company.
That's right. That's right.
Because, if I'm a leader, you're a leader. We could hire the best engineers to come and work with our firm.
Yes.
We can bring on the best marketers. We can bring on the best salespeople.
That's right.
Because that's what leadership does. You don't have to know how to do things. You don't have to have the idea. But I can have all the best ideas in the world. But if I cannot pull the right people together, my idea will never get executed. And if it does, it will never flourish.
Yes.
Because I didn't know how to treat people right, and I didn't know how to pull the right environment. I didn't know how to build the right culture. That stuff is what matters.
That's right.
And most people neglect that, and they think, if I have a good idea, if I have a good product, man, we're going to make it. So many companies I can name out there that had good ideas, good products, didn't make it.
Yeah. We got the capital. No, that's... So in your opinion, Peyman, what are the gaps you see within leadership in the various organizations out there, and how can people address these gaps and fix it?
So again, a lot of people confuse leadership with position.
Mm-hmm.
So just because I have a certain position at a company, or at a political party or at a firm or at a charity, that does not make me a leader. Leadership is not about position.
That's right.
Leadership is all action.
Yes.
So the biggest gap exists there, where just because I'm a vice president of XYZ company, in my head, I'm like, I'm a leader. I've got 30 people reporting to me. But if those people are reporting to me because they have no choice, they got to put bread on the table, that doesn't make me a leader. But if 30 people are reporting to me because they want to report to me, that's a whole different conversation.
Yes.
So I always tell people, if you want to test your leadership and see how much of a leader you are, give your people a choice to choose. If they choose you, again, then you're a leader. But if they don't choose you once they were given a choice, you were never a leader to begin with.
That's right.
So don't let your position get to your head, oh, because I'm this and this, I have the leadership. No. You could be a brand new associate of a company and have a lot more leadership influence than the guy who might be a vice president or even the CEO.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's not position, it's more action. And that's the biggest gap I find.
So what's your advice in terms of organizations training people to become leaders?
Get the right people in to train your people. Right? It doesn't happen automatically.
Yes.
Okay? I was at a conference last week in Nashville, and John Maxwell was a guest speaker, and he said, leadership development does not happen automatically.
Yes.
It has to be intentional. And a lot of people need to understand that they should be bringing in experts that can significantly empower and improve their people.
That's right.
So for anybody who runs a sales organization or who's got a team going on, who's got a startup company, and you want to develop leadership skills in your people, my number one recommendation is find the right coach and get them in and let the expert do that for your people. A, it brings expertise and credibility. B, it's a third party with no bias, so your people are not thinking that you're trying to influence them yourself for your sake.
That's right.
And they see that you're trying to pour into them. And that would be my number one skill. Said that I would tell people, advise more. So bring the right people in.
Absolutely. And I think in this day and age, it's vital to do that, because every leader above them, or so-called leader above them, has got a full schedule, booked 9 to 5. When are you having time to coach and mentor the people underneath you?
Yep.
I asked that question. I put it out there. How many hours do you spend with your direct reports? And how do you build them? Right? And I know the answer already. Right? So I think that's vital, to bring in that outside expertise. And,
So powerful.
yeah.
I mean, that's one of the reasons why we were in Nashville. I mean, John Maxwell.
Yeah.
I'd rather have 40 of my guys sit in front of John Maxwell for a couple of hours than to sit in front of me, because he's the number one leadership coach in the world.
Correct.
So I take that opportunity. Our company brought him on board to influence our people. Why? We have incredible leaders within our firm, but you need that expertise once in a while to come and add more on top of what you're already doing.
That's right. That's right. Now, Peyman, I know we're both fans of Ed Milet, and I love the quote he uses, the power of one more.
Yep.
So I want you to tell me what that quote means to you, and how do you use it in your day-to-day life?
In the gym, one more rep. I love doing the Stairmaster. As soon as I'm tired, one more minute.
Yes.
You know, believe it or not, my son is 5. Before I leave the house, I kiss him I don't know how many times.
Nice.
Because I'm like, one more kiss, give one more kiss, one more kiss.
Love it.
One more call, one more referral, one more appointment, one more conversation, one more prospect. You know, I've been able to apply that into my life significantly, because Ed Milet has had a lot of influence in my life. As you know, I've already mentioned, he's built his millions of dollars through actually financial services. And I've had a chance to, sit down with him in a couple of occasions, and the trips we go to Hawaii and all that. He was actually there when we went to Nashville as well,
Yes.
and had a chance to kind of get mentorship from him. But that one more mentality makes all the difference in the world.
Absolutely.
I remember way before I met my dad, I was a soccer player, and I used to play soccer, and I was a goalkeeper. And we would practice penalty shots at the end of the practice. And my coach always used to say, we never leave practice on a bad note. So people would have to, like our players would have to keep taking penalty shots until I make that one save.
Yes.
And we would always finish on a positive note, no matter how. So one more. You didn't get it? One more. One more. So that one more mentality was embedded in my mind.
Nice.
And then once I met Ed and the incredible book he wrote, that just kind of put everything into the perspective. And we started applying it into our business. And we talk a lot about it with our team, right? Hey,
Awesome.
Make one more phone call. Get one more referral. Try one more sale appointment.
It's powerful.
Very, very powerful.
Yeah, I love it.
One more event.
Yes.
One more conference can change your life.
That's right. And it's funny because you talked about the gym and pushing, one more rep. There's actually science behind that, where you think that you don't have any more left in the tank, any gas left. You actually have 60% more.
Yeah.
That you can push. So that's I love that, and I use that myself too now. So Peyman, what is the best advice you've ever received in your life?
Very good question. The best thing I've ever heard was 2018. I was at a retreat with a great leader, and he told me this. He said, listen, there's nothing better, there's no pillow softer than a conscious mind. And that really made an impact in my life. No matter what you do, always do what's right.
Yes.
Always, especially in the world of business and with social media and all that stuff, a lot of times we feel like we're being left behind. And, oh my gosh, so-and-so did this, and I'm being left behind, and so-and-so did this. And that may affect us. And because we want to now start reaching to that destination quicker, it may jeopardize our character, where we're going to cut some corners, where we may not know it's going to catch us now, but it can catch you when you're 10 years from now, 20 years from now, when you really have a lot to lose.
That's right.
And do it right, because there is no pillow softer than a clear, conscious mind. That you knew no matter what, you always did it right.
Absolutely.
And that applies to marriage, that applies with your children, that applies to your business.
Yeah.
If you're honest and if you're truthful, you never have to remember what you said.
That's right. Yes. That's a great one. And integrity is your value.
That's it. Right? That's been the greatest advice I've learned, to always do it right, live life with integrity, and always be honest.
Awesome.
No matter what the cost is.
Excellent. I love that. Now, what's the worst advice you ever received?
Go to school and get an education.
Oh man, a lot of angry parents.
That's fine. The worst advice, not the school part, I was kidding, but the worst advice I've ever received was that education can bring you success. Formal education. Let me rephrase that. The formal schooling education, self-education can make you millions.
That's right.
But the formal schooling education does not necessarily make anybody successful.
Absolutely not.
That was the worst advice I've got. If you go to school, get an education, you'll be successful. No. I realize real education starts after school.
We should preach that to the Persian culture out there. The Persian parents out there.
I have a 5-year-old son. And one thing we discuss at home with my wife is, unless my son wants to be a specialist, like a doctor, a dentist, lawyer, things of that nature, there is absolutely no reason for him to go to school for anything else.
Interesting.
Right? Doctor, lawyer, engineer, I understand. Anything else?
The specialties, yeah.
The specialties, sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, for me to go to school to get an arts degree and spend $100,000 in student loan debt, and come out and now I don't know what I'm going to do with my life and I have no job, just never made sense to me. No. We were sold this idea.
That's right.
And we know why.
The beliefs.
School is a great business for most people that run the schools. And unfortunately, I see a lot of people leaving school at the age of 22, 23, graduated with a ton of debt,
Yeah.
and they have no idea what they want to do.
Imagine what they can do with that investment,
And
the
that
money
time.
that they put. Yeah.
And that time.
Yeah. They can learn so much more.
4 or 5 years in a school that you spend hundreds of thousands of dollars where it's not going to serve you.
That's right.
Not a good advice.
I couldn't agree with you.
You know, and it's very trendy. I don't know if you've seen this. A lot of people actually take undecided majors now in their first year, where they really don't know what they want to do. So they kind of go to school, pay their tuitions to figure out. I'm like, okay, put school on hold.
Yes.
Go figure out what you want to do
Make some
and
money.
stop spending that money.
Yeah. And make money.
Right? Just never made sense to me.
To earn, learn the value of a dollar. So no, that's great advice. Well, the not advice that not so great.
Yeah,
advice
not so
that
great
you
advice that I
learned.
got that cost me $40,000.
So before we wrap up this this episode, we've reached the segment where I call the rapid fire questions.
All right.
I'll be asking you some questions and give me the first thing that comes into your mind.
All right, try.
Ready to
Has
go?
to be one word or?
No, it can be whatever
Okay.
you want. All right. What is your key advice for people who want to become a leader?
Study leadership. Become a student of leader. Be a good student first.
Excellent. What is the best word to describe Peyman?
Relentless.
Nice. I like that. What is your unconventional definition of leadership?
Controversial at times. You may, as a leader, you may say things that a lot of people may not like at the moment, but you got to be ready to make those calls
That's right.
and say the things that you need to say.
Good. What is the most difficult emotion to control as a leader?
The biggest emotion that you have to control as a leader is
No, what is the most difficult?
difficult.
emotion?
Taking things personally.
Ah, beautiful.
Taking things personally. You can't let that get in the way.
How do you manage that?
Awareness. Total awareness. That you got to understand people do things a lot of times, they're not aware. But you got to be aware as a leader
That's right.
and never lose your cool right away.
Self-awareness. Beautiful. And tell the folks out there, where can they find Peyman?
So my IG handle, it's at peyman.golii. That's where I spend most of my time. I don't know. I'm not on YouTube yet. Maybe you can help me out on that.
For sure.
But majority of my activities happen on Instagram, Peyman, Peyman.golii, and that's where they can find me
Awesome.
most of the time.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So for all those who have any questions for Peyman, you can drop it in the comment box below and I'll make sure it gets to him, or you can reach out to him
Appreciate it.
directly. I want to thank you again
Hey,
so much.
Thank you so much
for your
Appreciate
time.
It.
Thank you
Thank you so much for this opportunity. It was great chatting with you.
Absolutely.
And I hope we were able to bring some value
Absolutely.
to your folks.
And for the folks out there, thank you for listening in, and we'll see you in the next episode. Take care, everybody.